Alright, you want more upfront and bright sounding vocals? I'm going to show you some techniques on how to get that done. Stay tuned. As always, check links below for all sorts of cool things. If you'd like to have an automated mastering service, try out LANDR for free. You can check the link below, as well as links to the vocal recording course and vocal mixing course. Let's hop straight into it. So with the way most of us are mixing nowadays, we in the box, right? Even with us, with all the analog gear we have, we still find ourselves gravitating towards, digital EQs to get the job done, right? It's a lot faster and it works, right? But what I found when it comes to using these types of plugins is that using just one doesn't always give you the sound you want, and I think that's the mistake most people are making. So the technique I'm going to be showing you is really how to make use of a few different plugins to achieve a overall result. Okay, so allow me to guide you through that. So we'll kind of start from here. I'll play the track a little bit. This is a single I dropped quite a while ago, but the sonic mix is good and the vocal is really up front. So what I'll do is I'll actually play a little bit of where the whole chorus is, so you can hear how the main vocal still is able to sit on top of the mix, sound consistent, sound bright, but not overly bright or harsh, and then how it still sounds good when the vocal is kind of on its own without any drums. So just take a listen to that and then we'll break down the mix.
Hold me right now when it's nighttime. I'm a rock star, counting all these bands now. You a star, baby, all you do is stand out. Put in work, baby, you know I'm the man now. She calling on my phone every time I'm not around. Rack, I got racks. Do my two-step every time she throw it back. We can hit the mall and ball out just like.
So you can see how the vocal has this really nice it's sitting in this nice pocket. Whenever, certain parts of the vocal get loud and bright, it still sounds good, right? But how do we achieve that? So the most common mistake, as I said before, most people make is that you have one EQ pulled up and you try and get like the overall result with just that one EQ. Now that tends to work better when mixing on a console. But when it comes to mixing the box, you'll find that boosting one plugin a bit too much will kind of just sound quite nasty, right? There are limitations to what software can do, and in order to kind of alleviate that, we tend to stack up our plugins. So I'll kind of guide you through this. So what I do is I'll always start off with a standardized kind of console EQ. You'll always find me using either an SSL or a Neve style EQ on my vocal chain. And I'll really just be using that to kind of get rid of some of the lows, right? These high pass filters are very subtle, so they're not going to kind of dip away all of the bass and have the vocal just sounding telephonic. But generally what I'll do is I'll just maybe remove a few frequencies here and there. In this case, I didn't really do it. I thought that the bass of the vocal was quite okay, in terms of analog style toning. And then I just did really light boost. You can see I do a very light boost at 8K. It sounds good on my vocal. But the point I'm trying to get across is that I'm using this EQ just to do very kind of slight broad strokes, right? You can use a pulsec EQ if you like, just to get that vocal tone kind of cleaned up, okay? From then on out, what I then do is I'm using a lot of Slate plugins in this mix, but then I start doing more of an aggressive EQ push, right? So you can see over here I'm doing about 2.2 dB at 12K. This is kind of like maybe like an API style EQ, but this Slate EQ sounds really good. With this EQ I'm starting to go a bit more aggressive, right? So you can see how I'm toning my vocal with two different EQs to get one result, right? So you can see I'm doing a 2.2 boost, I'm ducking away quite a bit of 7, right? 1.4 dB, and I'm getting rid of quite a bit of 200, and all this is doing is it's just really allowing me to get more of a kind of toned vocal sound, right? So if I was to turn these two off, you can really hear that the vocal sounds a bit less detailed.
Hold me right now when it's nighttime. I'm a rock star, counting all these bands now. Right? You a star, baby, all you.
Right, the vocal sounds good, but it doesn't have that shine to it, right? We're really getting that shine from ducking away frequencies, right? Toning our vocal if I turn these back on.
Hold me right now when it's nighttime.
Right, nighttime, you can hear how nice and shiny that vocal becomes just from these subtle kind of boosts here and there, right? So, my first tip, use analog style EQs just to do basic toning, and do this first, right? So if you're starting to mix your vocals, use these analog EQs first. It's going to allow you not to go overboard. Again, a common problem I see as we go into the next EQ is I see people going a bit too crazy on the parametric EQs off the bat, right? A parametric EQ, in my opinion, when it comes to vocals, should only be used to really kind of clean up the vocal and in a detailed way, right? So, we're going to remove things that really annoy us. This is really where your critical listening comes into play, right? So as you can see right here, I'm just going to play the vocal so you can see what's going on.
Hold me right.
I don't know if the graphic stays, but while it's here, you can see I'm just working on getting rid of frequencies I don't like. Okay, it's especially important to be removing harsh frequencies between, let's just say 3K up to about 10K. Okay, this is going to allow us to make boosts later on. Okay, so this is really that stage where you want to be critically looking at the vocal, dipping out things that clash with the snare, for example, getting rid of things that clash with the 808, getting rid of maybe parts of the vocal that maybe were recorded not so nice, right? So that's what we're doing right there. And again, we can get away with doing a nice boost after the fact, because now we've removed all the stuff we don't like, and then we're boosting the stuff that we do like. Okay, so really use this section as kind of like your filtering section, right? We're kind of filtering out the things we don't like. So if I just turn off this and then these EQs as well, let's listen to that.
Hold me right now when it's nighttime. I'm a rock star.
Right, without these cuts, the vocal sounds quite muddy. Okay, so you can see now I'm really kind of honing in on the vocal and getting rid of those muddy spots that I don't like. Okay, if I turn these all back on again.
Hold me right now when it's nighttime.
Right, and then I turn off this parametric EQ.
Hold me right now when it's night.
We don't have that detail in the vocal, right? So it's really important, as I said, to use your analog EQ for kind of broad strokes, and then to use your parametric EQ for more kind of detailed cuts and boosts. Okay, so there you go. That's working for us pretty well. And also, just in the kind of topic of stacking, right? You can see I'm doing two high-end boosts. Now, right, traditionally that would be wrong. Why are you using two EQs in front of each other to boost treble, right? Again, when we're mixing in the box, we can break these rules because we want to kind of get that randomness that analog would give us, right? But unfortunately with digital, as I said, the code is restricted to the code, right? You don't get that randomness that you get when you boost an analog EQ. Okay, so that's why it's okay to do two boosts. Obviously, just do it conservatively, don't go crazy. Okay. Now, the next thing that's going to be important to mixing a brighter vocal is going to be your de-esser. Okay, so I personally like either this or the Waves de-esser. Doesn't matter, I did do a tutorial a while back on how to get a good vocal sound using the Waves de-esser, but for this one I'm using a wide band, and basically what that means is it's going to be pretty much de-essing the whole vocal every time there is a kind of spiffy part in the vocal. Kind of got it set to around 5K, I think. Or however this de-esser works, I don't really know, but it sounds really good. And just pay attention to the blue line going down. That's basically how much de-essing we're doing. It's basically just kind of toning the vocal down when any of those S's pop out. Okay, we don't want to be de-essing aggressively. If we are, it's either that we've recorded the vocal a bit too bright, or we have now mixed the vocal a bit too harshly. So we want to really watch how much you're doing here.
Hold me right now when it's nighttime. I'm a rock star, cutting all these bands now. You a star, baby, all you do is stand out. Put in work, baby, you know I'm the man now. She calling on my phone every time I'm not around. Rack, I got racks. Do my two-step every time she throw it back. We can hit the mall and ball out.
So as you can see right there, this is really just kind of tucking on that vocal. It's just working on it to make it sound better. So it's as simple as that, right? You can see I've really only focused on analog EQ to tone, parametric EQ to do the detailed work, and then a de-esser to just do that kind of, compression, just to really compress the vocal, make sure that it's not popping out too much. And as you can see, the de-esser only kicks in on words that have the S or anything like that, right? Anything with that is going to sound harsh, the de-esser kicks in. So it takes a while to get used to setting that threshold correctly, but once you do, you're going to find your vocals are going to sound a lot more natural. Okay, we don't want to hear that de-esser sucking the life out of the vocal. We don't want to hear the EQ, right? We don't want to hear these boosts. We don't want to hear these cuts. The end goal is for all of these plugins to sound natural, okay, on your vocal. Okay, the human voice is, probably the most important part of your mix. And if you mess it up too much, it begins to sound strange. So yeah, that's pretty much it, man. Hopefully enjoyed this video. Hopefully you have learned something from this. Definitely consider, getting yourself some free plugins as well. You can get a really good free SSL EQ would be something like the SSQ. I think this is the newest one right here. This is going to be cool. You can use this the Fiverr as well from Analog Obsession. Check out their Patreon. It's going to be a really good EQ for just getting those broad strokes done on your vocal. But nonetheless, man, as always, keep mixing, keep working every day. Check the links below. If you do want a custom vocal preset, you can check out our web store as well. We do have services for that. We can cater for Logic, FL Studio, Pro Tools, etc., etc. But nonetheless, man, have a good one. Peace out.